to ABA Inside Track, the podcast. It's like reading in your car, but safer. This is episode 8, where we will be talking about toilet training. I'm your host, Robert Perry Cruz, and with me, my award-winning co-hosts. And by award-winning, I mean I gave them an award for their co-hosting.
Diana Perry Cruz. Jacqueline Marie McDonald.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
How's it going?
I have a cold today, so just bear with me.
Well, luckily we'll be talking about toilet training, which has nothing
in the bathroom.
In the bathroom, that's
where
it.
I will be blowing my nose.
We'll edit all that out for you folks at home. So
I don't think you should.
No? Okay, so if you blow your nose, we'll keep it on there.
Okay.
It's only
just kidding.
It's only fair. So today we're going to be talking, like I said, about toilet training. We're going to be reading 2 articles. The first is called Intensive Outpatient Behavioral Treatment of Primary Urinary Incontinence of Children with Autism by Linda LeBlanc, James Carr, Sarah Crossett, Christine Bennett, and Dawn Detweiler from Focus on Autism and Other Developmental Disabilities in 2005. And then we'll be reading a case study. Well, we won't be reading it. We'll be talking about a case study evaluation of a transfer of stimulus control toilet training procedure for a child with pervasive developmental disorder by James Lucelli from Focus on Autism and Other Developmental Disabilities, 1996. So,
I didn't realize these were both from
Me neither.
FADD or FAD.
FAD.
Do they
No, not
specialize
really.
in toilet training?
no, I think it's a focus. I mean, as the
It's a
first
fad.
article goes into. Oh, I wish. Wouldn't it be great if it were a fad for people to care about toilet training? Because then everyone just got it after that.
Yeah, everyone was like, oh, you've got this. It's amazing.
Exactly. So I assume everyone here has done the toilet training in less than a day method at some point?
Yes, I have. And it was effective in one day.
Good. How
One
about you?
time.
Well, good for you.
Thanks.
How about you,
Well, I
Diana?
said one time.
Okay. Yeah. I have successfully done it, and I have attempted it several times.
I have also successfully, and just through attempts, done that method as well. So hopefully for those of you listening at home who have probably also done it, this will shed a little light on some variations and other ways to target toilet training, because I know it is very challenging, especially for parents and folks who are out in the public schools and private schools, though I suppose it's a little easier because you have a little more control over the schedule.
Yeah, and so the toilet training that we're going to talk about today is different from typical parenting procedures where toilet training will be more child-directed. When I've listened to, parenting sites online, people will talk about how, when your kid goes to sit on the potty that one time, then you'll give them reinforcement, and then you'll praise them and give them tickles and love, and that will be
Sticker
it.
charts.
Sticker charts.
It's always a sticker chart.
That is actually true. It always is a sticker chart. There's stickers on the kid's head and pictures. Yeah. This one's not necessarily as child-directed. It's more prescriptive in both of these studies.
But even though both of these studies are looking at individuals with developmental disabilities, the techniques used in here could be used for anyone.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think they fall into the realm of, if you really are having trouble, these are good. But if you're lucky, it'll just all work itself out.
Yeah, you could think of these as remedial strategies.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into the articles. The first one will be Intensive Outpatient Behavioral Treatment of Primary Urinary Incontinence of Children with Autism. These are some long titles.
That's a mouthful.
This week. And Diana, why don't you start us off with a little bit of background information?
I will do that, but I think first we should all get out of our systems the fact that we're going to be talking about the potty.
Okay.
The pooper.
Because it's just a little bit funny.
The can.
Okay.
You know, the throne.
The commode.
Dropping the kids off at the pool.
The John.
Wait, are we saying slang for toilets, or are we saying slangs for going to the bathroom?
Both. I like it all.
Okay.
I think we better stick with the toilet. Otherwise list is going to get really long.
Okay, we'll just stick to toilets.
Okay.
Right? The WC, you know what that one stands for?
Water closet.
Yeah. I don't know why they call it that.
Because there's water in the closet.
Maybe original bathrooms in Europe
tiny.
were put in a closet.
They were put in a closet and they were tiny.
Oh, yeah.
And
there
there
was the house was already built.
Right, and the water was high above.
Oh, yeah, I've seen those.
Because you have to pull the little...
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like.
Yes. The John.
The swimming hole.
That's a good one.
I know.
I don't think I knew that one. retire to my chambers.
Oh.
One time when I was 7, my dad told me that he had to stop and check the car tires when we were on a long trip, and so he did, but he really was peeing. And
On the tires?
yeah, he's just like peeing behind the car.
Oh.
But I believed him until my junior year in college. That when he would say he would stop to check the tires, I was like, "You just did that like 4 times. I'm pretty sure they're fine." And he was like, "What? I was just peeing, and I can't believe you've believed this for that long, like 20 years."
That's great.
Yeah, so you can
He
use
sold
that.
it.
You can use that one.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Checking the tires.
Sounds good. What is this? I don't have any
The
more.
head.
Oh, the head.
I've never heard
Your
that
dad
one.
says
That's a
that one
good.
all
That's
the
a
time.
boat. That's a boat one.
Oh yeah, that is a boat one. The bumblebee.
I've never heard that.
Wasn't that what they're called? Water. The honey bucket. The honey bucket.
Oh my gosh.
Ugh.
That's gross.
gross.
Not the bumblebee. The honey bucket.
Good grief. I feel like I'm forgetting some obvious ones.
I'm sure.
Oh, the crapper.
The
Oh,
crapper.
yeah.
Everyone write in. Not only can you get CEs for this podcast, but if you send in your name for a bathroom, we'll read it on the air.
Well.
I don't know if I can think of any more.
Me
You guys have
neither.
any more?
Nope, that's for the listeners. We'll have a contest where they'll send in names for the toilet, and the prize is we'll read them on the air and say your name, so you can be as embarrassed as we are right now.
That was a good run. So
Congratulations.
do we have it all out of our system?
I think so.
Yeah, luckily I'm not 12. I probably wasn't going to laugh too much.
I was.
I don't know.
I probably was gonna laugh.
I did appreciate. I think I had a copy of your articles, Diana, and they were looking at the follow up, and you circled FU, and I don't think it was because it was follow up.
I did circle that because it's funny, but also because that is my alma mater.
Oh yes,
Furman University, FU, and we did call it FU, and our rally cry, whatever you do at football games, was FU 1 time, FU 2 times, FU 3 times, FU all the time.
Oh.
it's good.
Go Paladins.
Wow. What is
Yeah.
a paladin? I guess that's irrelevant for this
From
podcast.
Dungeons and
No,
Dragons.
it's not irrelevant. I don't know if it's from Dungeons
Isn't
and
it?
Dragons. It's like it's a knight. It's
We can ask Matt.
It's like a crusader kind of knight. And before they were the paladins, they were the Christian knights, and that was the joke, is that it was Furman University Christian Knights, but they weren't. They were
FU
Furman College.
Christian Knights.
Yeah, they were Furman College at that point in time.
That's funny.
Go
okay.
Dins.
Anyway, let's talk
Okay, I
about
guess
primary
I'll talk about
urinary
the article.
incontinence.
Okay, so in this study, what they did is they were, sort of hearkening back to the original toilet training literature, which was Azrin and Fox in 1971, and then Fox and Azrin in 1973. I guess they needed to take turns on who was in charge.
No, I'm first.
Right. And that really consisted of a treatment package. It was done with adults, and they were looking at scheduled toilet training trips to the bathroom, reinforcing both urination in the potty and dry pants
Outside of the potty.
outside of the potty, increased fluid intake, and then an overcorrection procedure if accidents occurred. Right, so in the current study, they take several of those components, but they did make a few tweaks to it, and they're also applying it to children on the spectrum. The original study was done with adults with developmental disabilities. So that was kind of where the outline of this study came from. And what they did here was look at this pretty similar, actually, type of treatment package for 3 young children on the spectrum. They all had a diagnosis of autism. They were actually all aged 4. 2 were boys, Adam and Gary, and 1 was a girl, Alice. And they all had previous experience with toilet training. However, they were not yet successfully producing in the toilet. So that was where they started, and it was initially an inpatient study, which they did intensively in the clinic and then transferred to home, also intensively, and then they did some additional follow-up in the school setting after that.
Yeah. And one thing I like that they did here, too, is they included a functional communication training component, which previous toileting packages didn't necessarily do. So that was nice. And
Yeah.
one other thing that I really loved here that I wrote, yes, with an exclamation point by, is that both rooms where they had the toilet included a TV VCR unit and preferred toys, foods, and beverages. That is my dream bathroom right there. With my VCR.
Nice. Have you ever been in a hotel, or I guess somewhere else fancy, where they have a phone
Yeah, I love that.
next to the toilet? I think that's really great.
Yeah.
That's how you know that are in a fancy place.
You've made it
You've
big.
arrived.
Yeah.
You've made
If
it big
they're-
when you can watch TV and talk to your friend while you're pooping.
Yeah.
It's like amazing.
Rob and I had that experience once. Not the Not that
like,
part, but where we went to a
oh.
hotel and we were like, oh my God, there was a phone in this bathroom and we took pictures of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
The toilet was closed.
It was
Okay,
pre-iPhone, so I think everyone's
really
had
exciting.
the experience of taking a phone to the bathroom at this point.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's different. If you're like, oh, I'm getting a call. Hello. What are you doing? Oh, nothing.
Mind the noise. That's true.
Never understand how people answer their phone in the stall.
I don't know either.
I don't get it.
That wasn't part of the treatment package, was it? Just having videos, right? They didn't have
They
to
have
tell people.
videos. They have videos
But it
for-
seemed pretty luxe.
Yeah.
I know.
What I hope it was, is this is what I imagined, is it was a huge TV and a VCR on one of those rolly carts. And I rolled the TV and VCR in and then rolled it out. That's what I'm hoping happened.
It could be.
I would assume this is 05, so yeah, they probably didn't have.
They could have had like a portable DVD.
They had those back then, yeah.
They had TV VCR unit.
Okay, sorry.
No DVDs.
Some sucker
Definitely
had to
not
just
a
lift
DVD.
it and carry it in, put it down on the ground, and then pick it up and take it out again.
Somebody had to play with the ears.
Someone's grad student was like, "You, that's your job. Pick this up."
Oh, the antenna. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
All right. So they were looking at 2 different dependent variables in this study. The first was toileting successes, so producing on the potty. Toilet. We'll call it toilet, right?
Yeah,
that's
that's
fine.
cool.
It's all right. And the second one was self-initiation. So that's kind of the piece that you're speaking to. They
Yeah.
really worked on teaching a communication response in order for their child to increase their self-initiation. So after they identified their participants that they wanted to use, next up they did a preference assessment to identify some highly preferred reinforcers that would presumably work to increase both self-initiation and producing in the potty, toilet. So first they had the parents fill out a raised assessment, which is the reinforcer assessment for individuals with severe disabilities, which basically just identifies all different areas of what might the child like, smell-wise and taste-wise and deep pressure-wise or whatever it might be. And then from there, they identified several different items and did a multiple stimulus without replacement preference assessment for foods, beverages, and toys.
You think they did them all together?
I sure hope not.
Because that seems like a no-no, according to the literature.
It is a no-no. No, because they provided them in different ways. So I'm pretty sure they did not do them together.
Okay, good.
Come on, Linda LeBlanc
I know.
and Jim Carr,
They got their
they know better.
junk going on.
Yeah, it's all good. And so after they identified particular reinforcers, they were ready to start their assessment. So this study was a non-concurrent multiple baseline design across participants.
Wait, Diana, what's the difference between a non-concurrent multiple baseline design and a concurrent multiple baseline design?
Oh, well, I'm glad you asked. In a concurrent multiple baseline design, each of the different, in this case, participants, their sessions are going to be running simultaneously. But in a non-concurrent multiple baseline design, they could be happening at separate points in time. So the baselines are still going to be staggered in length in order to ensure experimental control. But, Gary's sessions could have been done 3 years before Alice's sessions. We do not know.
Crazy town. Sometimes when they talk about multiple baseline designs, they talk about the different legs of the experiment, and I think that's funny.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Their legs. It always
Their
makes me think
legs.
of when you talk about wine, you're going wine tasting, you're like swirling,
Oh, yeah,
and
they're
then
like,
it,
look at that leg.
as it drips down,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, it's got good legs. That's how
funny.
I think of it.
I also like to think about them as tiny little houses on each of the graphs,
Oh, yeah?
with the roof.
Like if you're going to do division.
Yeah, it's
Isn't
like,
that
oh.
called a house?
Yeah, it's like, it's raining, go underneath the roof. That's what I think about when I see graphs.
That's how you remember who's dividing by, because 25 divided by 5, the 5 is outside the door.
Oh, yeah. So he wants
Saying
to come
by
in.
or trying to get in.
He's probably trying to get in. Let's be honest.
Probably. 5.
Yeah, 5's always trying to get in.
I think we're ready to talk about the independent variable.
Yeah, we are.
And it's a doozy, because it is an entire treatment package.
It's big.
Yeah, man. There are 5 different components to this treatment package, many of which, like we said, are similar to what Azrin and Fox did initially, but there are some tweaks. So, component 1 was a sitting schedule, whereby each of the students was toileted and visited the bathroom.
Uh-huh.
Level 1, I'm not going to go through all the levels because there's 12 of them, but in level 1, the child sat on the toilet for 10 minutes and then was off the toilet for 5 minutes. And then repeat. Keep going.
All day.
All day. As soon as they had a production on the potty, they could move up to the next level. which was 10 minutes on, 10 minutes off, and then it keeps increasing in like 5 or 10 minute increments off the potty, all the way up to 5 minutes on, 4 hours off.
That's significant.
By the end of level 12.
I actually don't think I'm there right now.
Right? I know.
Yeah.
I hear ya.
I think my on time is less than 5 minutes because I think I'd probably get fired if it was 5 minutes or more. But I do know that my 4 hours off is pretty significant. So
Yeah, man. That can be a long time.
sometimes I like to chug water during an hour and see if I can do my whole water bottle during a meeting, so I can
Nice.
avoid the meeting by going to the bathroom.
And staying there for more than 5 minutes.
Yeah, I need this.
Well, you gotta stay hydrated. It's really important.
That's true.
Yeah. Certainly the schedule is individualized for each child because as they started to produce or have accents on the potty, everyone's schedule was going to be changed depending on how they did that day. The next component was programmed consequences for successful urination and self-initiation. So that was why we did the preference assessment, so we would know what the super, super special reinforcer was going to be. I would probably pick fruit snacks.
We would?
Yeah, I don't know. I think specifically for toileting, maybe just every kid I've ever worked with has had fruit snacks as their toileting reinforcer.
What would you pick, Rob?
Personally?
Yeah.
Or what do I usually see?
No, what would you choose if I had to reinforce your appropriate sitting and
Oh,
urinating?
usually if I'm like training people to do preference assessments, I'll pick the like anything with like a peanut butter in it. So probably
You
something
do, like,
Reese's
peanut butter based.
peanut butter little minis. Yeah.
Yeah. Jackie?
I think any type of candy, really, unfortunately.
You could have a whole selection.
Right, I would probably want various amount of candy. So different candies like sweet tarts, lemon heads,
Oh, yeah?
Necco wafers.
Okay.
You know, all the old grandma type candy, Smarties.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You're going way back.
I'm
So like sweet and tart mixed together.
Yeah, I'm like a grandma.
3 of the 4 you just named are sweet and tart.
Yeah, I'm a grandma. Just call me Grandma Jack.
You like Sour Patch Kids.
Those two.
Yep.
Yep, all those.
All right.
Cool.
Good to know in case I ever need to run this with you. All right. Component number 3 was increasing fluids. You've already got that one down too, Jackie.
Yep. I'm on my way.
You're almost there. Component number 4 was communication training, which that was new. So that wasn't part of the Azrin and Fox original. And we would all agree, I think, that is hugely important. We want to not only teach kids to be, as we call it, schedule trained, to visit the bathroom and stay dry until someone takes them there, but also to let us know when they need to go. So that was really important. And then, oh shoot, did I tell you there are 5 components? There are 6 components. My bad. Component number 5 was a urine sensor and alarm, wet stop, TM, and
I like that you added the TM.
you know,
So wet stop, it actually, if you've never seen a urine sensor and alarm, it's like a little sensor that clips onto the underwear, and then you can either run the wire up the back of the child's shirt, and it like clips onto the top of their shirt. So when the sensor feels that it's like wet, then the alarm goes off in the kid's ear.
it looks like a little like box of dental floss.
It does, yeah.
Or it doesn't have to go all the way up the kid's back. It can just be clipped onto their
yeah.
pants in their pocket. But
If you have a kid with intellectual disabilities or a young toddler, it's most likely going to be ripped off in that situation. So
Yeah,
that's
thank
how
you.
I usually run it up the back of the shirt.
Yeah, that's how I've seen it done in the past. And then the component 6, which I almost forgot to tell you about, was the positive practice for accidents. So that was not unlike the overcorrection that was used in the original study. And what they did here was anytime an accident occurred, they, changed the child and then visited the bathroom and went through the whole process of going in the bathroom, sitting on the potty, pants down, pants up, 4 times in a row in order to sort of just hit that home for them.
so what they said is this treatment package is similar to the original version described by Azrin and Focht, except that we did not include extensive training of toileting self-care skills, frequent delivery of preferred consequences while dry, extensive cleanliness training for accidents, or time out for accidents.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, they didn't do the dry pants check.
Nope.
That's one of my favorites, actually.
Really? I
Yeah.
always find dry pants tech to feel very extraneous.
Oh, I love them.
I worry that they water down the potency of the reinforcer that's isolated for production.
Yeah, that's probably true. I like it because it's easy.
I would like to get a reinforcer every 5 minutes.
Me too.
For being dry.
I've always wondered how much discrimination there is.
True.
What they have done is have dry pants rather than just, oh,
Did nothing.
it's been 5 minutes.
Right.
I haven't gone to the bathroom. That's all I know. But
Well,
Right.
I think the real caution with the dry pants check is you can accidentally reinforce,
Wet pants.
check your own crotch with your hands, and then get an edible.
Right.
So I've seen that happen before, get shaped up, where kids are just touching themselves all the time.
I also don't like watching adults running around grabbing kids' crotch and being like, your pants are dry. It's like, oh,
Yes,
God, give
yeah.
your hands to yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that too. I've also seen where they were doing a dry pants check, and as soon as the edible was delivered, the kid peed in his pants and goes, "Oh no, look what I did!" as he's chewing the skin
Fresh.
off. So it can also backfire.
So maybe it's a controversial...
Is it? I don't know if it's controversial.
Well,
so
we
much
just
as-
kind of drummed up some controversy.
Yeah,
this-
I like it because it's easy, but I'm not sure it really works.
Right.
Yeah, well, it wasn't in either of the articles.
No.
Actually, Fox and Asman, I think they did have.
They did.
They
Have
did.
did have the
Yes,
dry
they
pants.
did.
They
Yeah.
did have the dry
But
pants.
they don't hear.
Yeah. I also have found it to be an extraneous component
Yeah,
often, and I don't always use it.
I would never touch a kid's crotch. By the way.
I'm also
I would
terrible
just
at
look.
knowing if they're wet or not.
Not in the
without looking at the
classroom,
diaper.
I mean, only if it's like self-care. That's
Right.
the only time.
Yeah.
That you...
No, I never does it in the classroom.
No, that's inappropriate.
They have the timer beep and they're like, "Let me check."
No, that's
Oh, yeah.
inappropriate.
That's...
I hate doing that. I never do it. And even if I did, I can't tell if a kid's dry or wet. Really, I do. I have 3 children. I can't tell if
Oh, well,
any of them have
are
ever
the
been
kids
dry.
wearing pull-ups? Is that why?
Sometimes.
that?
Sometimes they're wearing underwear.
I would make them wear underwear.
Pull-ups are dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd rather have
If
underwear.
you're going
I'd
to do
rather-
real toilet training, don't use pull-ups.
I would rather shell
Because-
out the $80 for the alarms or whatever they
Oh, is
cost.
that how much they are? TM?
I researched them the other day. I don't know about that brand, but I found a bunch online for $80.
Okay.
I
Are those
think I
coming
bought
to our
mine.
house?
No, just
I think I bought Wet Stop TM for $56.
that's even better.
Shipping and handling not included.
So anyway, I suppose
Yeah.
one would want to maybe break out the dry pants checks. It does feel potentially extraneous. Maybe someone will look at that someday.
So if you're going to do real toilet training, I really feel like you have to go with the underwear. Are you guys in agreement?
Yep.
Yes.
And there
Okay.
was a study done.
By Rachel Thompson and colleagues that showed
Fabulous.
underwear versus pull-ups, and underwear was most effective and efficient.
Yeah, which totally makes sense because I think that, sometimes parents or teachers will think that pull-ups are different than diapers. And from what I can tell from the kids' perspective, there is virtually no difference for them between pull-ups and diapers. Because they're just as absorbent, and they're used to the feeling of having a wet diaper, and having the feeling of a wet pull-up I don't think is really any different to
I don't
them.
think so either. Yeah.
They're nice in that you can practice pulling pants up and down. So I have worked on that first with kids sometimes. If, we're maybe not quite ready to practice sitting on the potty, actually, then just practicing the
Right.
pull-ups up and down can be a good first step.
Yeah.
Like a pre-toileting skill. But if you're actually looking at toileting and whether the child is ready to stay dry, then pull-ups are, to me, just not helpful.
That study that I just referenced was Simon and Thompson, published in 2006.
in the Journal of Applied Behavior Analysis.
Sweet.
Yeah, that's pretty
Way
good.
to pull that.
You're welcome.
I had it here. on
Pull
my-
that up. Yeah.
On my toilet training reference list.
Alrighty. And so they implemented this toilet training package with each of the 3 participants. Like I said, it was 1 day in their outpatient clinic first, then 2 days of intensive toilet training at home, and then the children went back to school following that. They continued to follow the schedule at that point in time. And then after the initial treatment phase was completed, they did go back and do follow-up for each of the participants.
Okay.
All right, so for each participant, overall, this intensive method of toilet training was effective. Like I said, we were looking at reducing overall number of accidents outside of the bathroom and also increasing self-initiation. For Adam and Gary, they had very similar results in that following the initial baseline in which accents were relatively high and self-initiation was low, once we implemented treatment, for both of them, accents reduced to 0 relatively quickly, and self-initiation increased concurrently with the reduction of accents. So they picked up on it pretty quickly. The one concern I would say here is that for Adam, he started self-initiating for the bathroom before baseline ended, so it was pretty good level of overlap there in the level of self-initiation and baseline and then in training.
Right.
As training continued, self-initiation rose even higher than it was at the beginning of training and at the end of baseline. And then in the follow-up for both of those two guys, we saw pretty high levels of self-initiation maintain, and accidents remained at 0.
0!
Woohoo!
That's like
good.
significant
Which
right
is
there.
fabulous, yes.
I think they did mention for Adam because they pointed that out in the discussion, but I think they mentioned that since he had failed at other toilet training methods, it might have not been as big a weakness as it certainly just looks on
and
it
he
on
was
the graph.
asking for the bathroom, but he wasn't staying dry. So he could have been asking for the bathroom for many reasons.
Yeah, like how most of our...
I get Skittles there.
Yeah.
I get out of work there.
Well, when he started frequently asking, but I guess he was sort of inconsistent. When he started asking a little more frequently, though, his rates of accidents dropped.
Yeah. So that looked really good overall for both of those guys. And then for Alice, again, in baseline, she had high rates of accidents and low rates of self-initiation. Moving into treatment, they saw levels of accidents decrease pretty rapidly, but they never reached 0 level. And then it was really difficult to get the self-initiation off the ground, it appeared for her. Right. So she had somewhat of an increase in self-initiation, but overall rates continued to be quite variable for her. In follow-up, again, they didn't really see self-initiation, but number of accidents remained low.
Yeah.
So it was a partial success for her, I would say.
I think they commented that her parents, too, took her to the bathroom on a really high schedule
She
to avoid having
had the
accidents. So,
opportunity,
and they even talk about the sense of, at some point, it's possible you have to allow children to go on their own.
Yeah,
They
fade
have
out
to-
the
they have to
schedule.
go,
Otherwise,
just fade
there's
it out.
Right.
they're never gonna. Well, we're gonna talk, I guess, about transfer stimulus control, but they're never gonna have that and feel the need to go to the bathroom if someone's taking them really often.
We had a student once with us who it was on schedule. This is when the kids go, and never self-initiated. And I made the point, I don't know, just don't take him to the bathroom. Let's see what happens. And he just started asking to go to the bathroom.
There you go.
He seemed confused. Why is no one taking me to the bathroom?
Funny.
I don't know if that'll always happen, but in that case it did.
Nice.
I like it when it's easy. Oh no, just don't do nothing. And it all worked out.
Sometimes that's all it takes.
Right.
Yeah. That's what I call the make a data sheet phenomenon.
Oh, when you make a data sheet, some sort
You're
of
like, this
superstitious
is
behavior.
a new behavior that's cropped up. What should we do about it? And I say, why don't we just start by making a data sheet? And then you make a data sheet, and then they come back and say, it went away. We didn't even need to take data on it.
Oh, see, I've
Score.
moved to the next step where I say, why don't you write down what happens for the next week and put it on a Post-it,
Nice.
and then you give me that Post-it, we'll make a definition. And then usually by the time they do all that, it's gone. I'm not making any definition.
That's awesome.
Problem resolved.
That's awesome.
Until it doesn't work, and then you get a bunch of Post-its. I got to go do it tomorrow. I got to go get a bunch of Post-its on my desk for a new
Post-it
definition.
roundup.
Yeah,
It's funny.
doesn't always work, but
One thing I really like about this article is that not only did they assess social validity, but after that first day at the clinic, I mean, it was the teachers and parents that were implementing the procedure and not necessarily the researchers. So I think that's really helpful to point out
Yeah.
and important.
So we don't quite know how closely everyone stayed on to the
Right,
schedule.
but it
do
doesn't
we?
look
No.
like it really mattered.
Well, we don't know if maybe that was part of the concern for Alice, but
Oh,
for the
right.
other two, we saw,
Yeah.
I mean, there was really nice results for both of them. So I would say that any procedural integrity errors were...
Probably minimal.
well, I guess the question with the procedural integrity errors would be how much of this treatment package was useful, important. I was surprised to see that in social validity they were relatively, everyone was all on board with the positive practice, which to
everyone
me is an area I find most people say, well, I got to take the kid back to the bathroom over and over. That's so mean. I'll never do it.
Yeah.
yeah.
And you try to explain what's in the original research. It's not trying to be mean. It's a way to practice the skill. And,
Right.
but that's the one I think most people will drop. Like I don't get a lot of social validity when I've talked about this procedure with parents, in my own practice.
Yeah. I think I'm more hesitant to put in the wet alarm than the positive practice. But I could see, parents and practitioners alike being concerned about both of those components. They didn't have concerns here. You're right. The social validity for all of the different components was really high.
Probably because they were at the point where it's like nothing is working.
Yeah.
Our kids are getting a little bit old now, too. One thing that the authors pointed out is that Alice was the only participant that used a card to self-initiate, whereas the other 2 participants used language. So it could be that her initiations were low because the card wasn't always readily available.
That's a really good point.
Because that sometimes happens, like, oh, it's on the book, but like the book's like so far away. And
Where is that book anyway? I haven't seen it all day.
It must be in the library. Yeah,
Or it only comes out when it's a scheduled time
right.
to initiate, and then suddenly the book's on the table. That's not independence, if
Right.
because that's the SD, the
Yeah.
representation of the book.
Yeah.
So that could
I've
be
seen it where, you have those pictures all around the room, and it's on the door to the bathroom as well, so if someone's heading that way, then they have the chance to also properly request. There's also the potty sign, which, no one can see me do, but it's making the sign language T and then shaking your hand back and forth. We use that a lot. Potty.
I don't use it a lot, but Diana might.
I do for myself, That's how you let people know when you're leaving the room. Potty.
Non-vocal signal.
I guess that's true. You don't have to like tell the whole room.
Yeah.
This is where I'm going, guys. I also wanted to just pull up some like general potty readiness signals, even though we're not talking about that. But I feel like it would be an error on the side of us if we didn't say like the common like readiness symptoms. Obviously, you don't need to have all of these, but you should have some of them in order to have some successful potty training. So some of the signs that you might want to have present in your student or child is that they can walk or run so that they can get to the potty.
Yep.
They can pee a fair amount at one time so
Okay.
you can get that in there.
Although you may not know some of these things before you start trying.
That's true. But if it's not working, you could stop and wait.
Well, you would know. I mean, if you change a lot of diapers and they always feel barely wet, then
that's
might
fair.
Be a signal.
Okay.
Versus,
Because that would
look at this
indicate that
heavy
you do not
sag
have the
diaper.
bladder control.
Right. Yeah. So that one is do they have any dry periods? So have at least 2 hours so that they have some bladder control.
Okay.
It's helpful if they can pull their pants up and down.
Yeah.
It's helpful but not necessary if they show interest in bathroom habits. That it makes it a little easier, but it doesn't have to be there. So most of our kids that have a diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder may not have that interest in other people.
Yeah, it just depends.
Yeah, and that's okay. It's not necessary. And a really nice thing is that if you know what the precursors are prior to engaging in peeing or pooping for your kids, so if they grunt or if they go behind a couch, or
I get that one a lot. Go behind the couch.
or if they have like the blank stare while they're doing something, that's actually helpful because that's going to give you a clue to move them to the bathroom quickly.
Potty dance.
That's what one of our kids did. You could tell he needed to poop because he would get in a chair and curl up and stick his butt way up in the air.
Yeah, so it's really helpful because then you know, like, oh, this is it.
Yeah,
This is the time. And then it's really helpful if they can follow some simple instructions. So when you're telling them to do something, they can actually do them on the potty.
I would also add they probably should not have a terrible aversion to going to the potty.
Right.
Which was why when parents ask about potty training, unless they're ready to work on it, I say, well, if they're interested, let them go in, let them hang out a little bit. If they have an older sibling going and they seem interested, well, let them check it out. But that doesn't mean grab them and stick them on the toilet because I've seen way too many. And now they won't go in there at all. And
Yeah.
then you get to work on shaping up, walk to the bathroom.
That happens a bunch.
Yeah.
It's interesting that the United States typically don't train until like the age of 3, where other European countries will go like 1.5 or 2. So that's just interesting.
Yeah,
that
and that's changed over time in the U.S. as well. Because I know when we were kids were more likely to be potty trained around age 2, and now it's kind of changed more like age 3,
maybe even 4. Right before you have to be potty trained by preschool, in order to go to kindergarten.
Yeah, unless you have a developmental disability.
Right. Yeah, but if you're like a typical kid,
something has to be documented.
Right, you have to have something going on with you.
Yeah. Although most kids in my kids' daycare are potty trained by 2.5, I would say. Somewhere around then. Maybe not firm, but everyone's attempting.
But this is exclusive of nighttime.
Yeah.
So that's just something we should say. Like, you shouldn't expect your kid to be dry all the way through their night at age 2. If it happens, awesome for you, but it's not like a guarantee.
Yes, no expectation on that.
Nighttime and daytime.
2 different animals.
Right. Yeah.
Totally. Another thing that I often mention, and it probably falls under one of those categories you just named, was whether the child seems to have discomfort with being wet.
Right. Oh, yeah, that's one too.
Right. When I talk to parents, I usually talk about two pieces of readiness that I like to see. In addition to what you said, Rob, being willing to go to sit on the potty. So there's sort of those pre-toileting skills I might work on, like just sitting in the bathroom or on the potty.
Right.
Being able to pull pants up and down, although we work on it before then as well. And then I'm often looking for sort of two pieces, one of which is, do they not like being wet? And the other is, have they had any experience or history with, I pee on the potty, I get something good?
Right.
Right? And if both of those pieces are in place, then usually potty training is successful. If only one is in place, then we might get there, but it might take longer.
Right.
And if neither seem to be in place, then there's a good chance that we are not yet ready for
or
this.
it's going to be a struggle.
Yeah, or it might take a long time. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Would you say that's irrespective of the use of an intensive toilet training procedure, that it wouldn't be successful? Or more in terms of if you're trying to do it more, quote unquote, naturally, like, oh, it just happens, and we go every now and again, and...
The latter, so with the really young guys, I don't often start with this intensive toilet training model because, like you said, I don't want to set it up to become an aversive situation to visit the bathroom, and that's like the last thing you want is for a 2-year-old to suddenly not like to go.
You're,
Or a
you're talking
3-year-old or
specifically,
4-year-old.
I work with
EI.
2-year-olds.
No,
yeah.
I know. Just
Yeah, I know you know. Making sure everyone else
But you're,
knows.
but you're talking specifically EI in terms of
I am.
when you
Yeah.
would...
So when you start getting over the age of 3, then you're in the...
Yes.
You're going to need to start to know.
You're in the danger zone.
Right. Ow!
Highway to the toilet danger zone. You see I had toileting in there?
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
You want to do it again?
Yeah.
I don't want to pay Kenny Loggins. We can't sing anymore of
Oh.
that song.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Well, we can change it. It's a parody.
Yeah. Highway to the toilet training zone.
I think we're covered now. Check with the legal team. They said it's fine.
Thanks, legal team.
So with my really young guys, I don't usually start with like that 5 on, 5 off schedule. I might do something a little more casual and visit every 30 minutes and
Right.
kind of just see what we get. And then if it seems as though a more intensive schedule might be beneficial, then we might move to that, or we might not.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think I really view this as the remedial toilet training approach that
Right.
might be more appropriate when kids are 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Or 5 or 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Or 35, like myself.
There we go. I think you're going to get there.
I think
I
so,
think you're
too.
really close. Yeah.
All right. Well, Dinah, anything else with our first article?
No, I don't
I think it was well done. Nice job.
Yeah, it really was. This was a nice article. I mean, there's always the question of, this was a package, which
Right.
component of it was the most important? You're always going to have that question when you're looking at a package treatment, but treatment package. It was a good treatment package because it worked.
Great. And social validity pointed to its success and the fact that it was done in the
Ding,
home
ding, ding.
being very, very big.
Thumbs up.
Before we move on to our second article, I'd like to remind any of you who are listening for CEs, our very first secret code word. Remember, if you're interested in CEs, there's a link on the info blurb about this episode and also on the website, ABA Inside Track. And you'll need to know both of these, plus the episode number, episode 8. The first secret keyword is marshmallow, like the thing you roast over a fire in the summertime, which it is. Marshmallow, M-A-R-S-H-M-A-L-L-O-W. And with that out of the way, Jackie, let's move on to our second article looking at the case study with a transfer of stimulus control by Lucelli.
I love that last name, too.
Sounds delicious.
It does.
It sounds like a cannoli.
Oh, that was like a pasta with a clam sauce.
Ooh, that does sound good. Even though I don't like clams.
So this study was really interesting. It's talking about prompting procedures and how, when we're talking about toilet training, what sort of prompting has been used. They do talk about the Azar and Fox method. But one thing that I just recently heard about was the water prompting technique, which I find so interesting. And I actually tried it, and it works.
Who did you try that on?
Myself.
Okay.
So I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. So the water prompting method or technique was done by Hagopian, Fisher, Piazza, and Weiser-Bicky in 1993. And this is where you slowly pour lukewarm water over the child's genitals from 3 to 5 seconds immediately after you're on the toilet to, like, I guess elicit water to come out. I just went to a workshop on toilet training conducted by Dr. Maeve Donnelly recently, and she talked about this method, and I was like, that does not work. And she's like, no, it was. I tried it with my son, and really, you pour cold, warm water, and then kids start to pee, and I was like, I wonder if that will work on me. And so I did it, and it actually worked. I don't know because I wanted it to, but...
Right. Well, there were a lot of other stimuli present.
Right. But I did try it, and it was successful.
You know, I don't think that this ever happened to me, nor did I do it to anyone else, but...
Kids pee
did
in
I
the
watch
bath
it
all
on
the
a
time.
movie? Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
that's
so
a good point.
That's where it came from.
Okay.
When you're in a pool or in a bath.
What movie did I watch where the person was asleep and they, put their hand in water?
Oh, that was, it's like every 80s teen movie.
Yeah.
Probably.
Anything with camp.
Yeah.
That's what I wrote down. Camp pranks.
That's funny.
Did you have to move your hand from warm water to cold water?
No, you just
No,
put
you
your
just
hand
put
in
Warm water, and that
water.
makes you pee.
I don't know
Yeah.
if that really actually works.
It worked
though.
in the movie, whatever movie it was.
Yeah,
Well,
in
that's-
every
that's a
camp movie
movie.
ever. I think I've tried that before on some of my friends, and it didn't work. But they may have gone to the bathroom right before they went to bed.
You got to plan those pranks out.
Right. Be like, don't go to the bathroom.
Why?
Because
It's broken. But they wanted to use an alternate procedure for prompting, and so this is the case study that they did. So they looked on shifting the source of stimulus control from urinating in the diaper to urinating in the toilet, which is kind of interesting because all the kids are urinating in the diaper, and they wanted to gradually fade the diaper out so that the kid was then peeing in the toilet. And they only had one participant. Her name was Kathy. She had a non-verbal learning disability and atypical PDD.
I wondered what that meant.
Atypical PDD?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that meant either,
Right?
actually.
I'd never heard of that. But this was 1996, and we don't even have PDD as a diagnosis anymore.
Right,
But I
so-
just was curious.
I don't know.
I don't either.
But Kathy did have some pre-toileting readiness skills. She could complete some simple instructions. She could sit. She liked to hang out alone. She showed a preference for isolate
Wait,
activities.
what? She liked to hang out alone as a prerequisite to toileting?
Well, she liked to hang out, she would, sit alone, on the potty. She didn't, need, constant adult attention.
Okay, she'd be willing to sit.
Right.
She was a loner, dotty, a rebel. That means time for toileting.
Yeah. Oh, look at Kathy. She's in the corner. Nobody puts Kathy in the corner.
She's
yeah.
going to the bathroom. You gotta move her to the
Yeah, right? So they had 2 DVs. They had in-toilet urination and in-pants urination, which was defined as the presence of urine in her diaper or in her training briefs or underwear during the training and follow-up phases. So that's pretty fun for her. They didn't have IOA or procedural integrity, which is a little bit concerning, and I can't believe it actually got published, but it was a case study.
Yeah.
And further work will need to be done on this, but it is fairly it's remarkable that this got published.
Unconventional,
Well,
right?
the whole
and they were
article kind of just, it's like, so we had an idea. And we didn't really need to do much with it. And there you go.
I thought that was
who cares
interesting.
about
They're
IOA
like,
at
look,
that point?"
everyone, we all know whether she had an accident or not. We didn't need IOA.
But sometimes kids dribble.
Oh, I know. I mean,
and that kind of counts as an accident.
I've had kids where, we had to decide if it's a quarter-size spot, it's a urinary accident. If it's a dime-size spot, it's okay.
Right. So, just because it doesn't, completely soak through their clothes doesn't mean it's not an accident. But, so that was, I was like, whoa.
I know, but I guess
happens.
if there's at some point in time, if you're like, man, I have this awesome data set,
Right.
but I just don't have IOA, well, maybe it's still worth sharing with the world.
You give a shot and see what happens.
You never know.
Call it a case study, maybe?
Right. That's why it is called a case study, I think. So they recorded their target behaviors during 4 scheduled bathroom visits each day. So they had scheduled bathroom trips at 9, 11:31, and 2:15. So each visit.
Long schedule.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Whew, she's holding it, or not. Right. But
Yeah.
that's when they're checking. So they helped her remove her outer clothing and undergarments, and then she sat on the toilet for 3 minutes. And then when she was sitting on the toilet, the teacher checked her diaper or undergarment. And then they had a pre-recorded data sheet. So they were like you. They were like, make a data sheet. And they already had one. Yeah. So at the end of the school day, they just counted up the total number of
Easy
things that
peasy,
happened.
plus minus.
Yeah, pretty easy. And during baseline, they just said, "Kathy, try to go," when she was on the toilet. I like that. And they didn't do anything else. But during training, they had a variety of phases. I think they had 3 phases.
Mm-hmm.
3 phases and a follow-up. So during the first phase, Kathy's disposable diaper was removed and she was placed in training briefs. So I'm assuming those are like just training underwear.
Yeah, but they're like the extra thick kind,
Oh.
right?
I don't
they're
know.
like underpants, but then the middle part of them just has like extra padding in it.
To make it less wet?
Yeah, it's like if they had a small accident, then it wouldn't like soak the floor kind of deal.
Do
But
they make
it's-
those for adults?
Probably.
No, I do
They
not.
should, though, right? For
I
like
assume.
older adults? Older adults should have training briefs just because of
Well,
what
I assume-
happens
isn't
when
that
you're
what
older.
depends are? Or are they more
Depends are
diapers?
more like pull-ups.
Yeah, depends.
I-
They're like serious.
I suppose it would depend on what your need.
Depend.
What your need your
Right.
need is. You know, are you so incontinent in your age that you just need something to catch a lot of urine, or is it just you don't have as much control
Right, that's
and
true.
would
I
like to
just
stay
was
dry?
wondering. I thought I read it and I was like, training brief, but I didn't look it up. I figured that would be something that we could talk about because I didn't know what it
Yeah,
was.
so training briefs just have like extra,
Oh.
Yeah.
just like triple layer
Ooh.
of them.
I love
And then
it.
training pants are those like plasticky pant
Oh.
thingies that go over.
Right.
No one uses those anymore.
Good.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
those are loud.
And whoosh, whoosh.
Yeah, they're like
Are you
plastic
walking?
bloomers.
Yeah. So she did not wear a disposable diaper during the day. She wore these training briefs.
Yeah,
That's important to
that's
know.
good.
Yeah. So at each of the scheduled bathroom dinner, have a scheduled bathroom visit. Kathy's training brief was removed. The disposable diaper was applied, and then she sat on the toilet, which was interesting. So here, she wore a disposable diaper during training when she was sitting on the toilet because previously she had a history of urinating in the diaper and not in the toilet, which I think is pretty clever. If she did urinate during that 3 minutes, she got lots of reinforcement with the sticker
chart.
sticker chart, praise. I think that's all
And a
they gave her.
picture book.
Oh yeah, and a picture book. So that was pretty awesome. And if she didn't urinate, she was just simply changed back into her training briefs. So that was phase 1, where she was sitting on the toilet in her diaper, hopefully peeing in her diaper.
Which seems backwards.
Yeah, but I think it's kind of clever. I mean, if she's,
Yeah.
it seems less work right now in the beginning. Like,
Well,
this
she
is
won't
where you
pee
go.
anywhere but the diaper, so what's the next best thing to just peeing in a diaper all over the place?
Right.
Peeing in a diaper in the bathroom.
Right. And that's
Right, because at least then you're moving the stimulus control to the right room.
right. And it's not
And-
like behind the couch or in the corner.
Yeah, and even to the right seat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So clever. I never would have thought of that, and I really appreciate that they did think about this. I think it's a clever way to charge toilet training. Sorry, I had something in my eye.
It's okay.
Yeah, so the phase 2 is looking at gradually fading out the diaper by altering its physical dimensions. So what they were really doing is just cutting the diaper, like cutting larger holes in the diaper. And I asked about this because when I would have done this, I would have started cutting in the middle.
Yeah.
But they actually cut along the edges.
Oh,
So
Okay.
around the legs?
Around the legs, so they just keep making it littler around the legs.
Oh.
But I would have started in the middle.
I
Yeah, made a hole
envisioned
in the
making
middle.
a hole in the middle.
No, I guess they went.
Okay.
Well, Lucelli also had another article published that they talked about how they went from the outside in.
Oh, okay.
But when I first read this, I thought it was like, oh, it's going to be from like a hole in the middle and then the hole will get
Yeah.
larger.
Yes.
But that's not how they did it.
Okay.
That's strange. Did they talk about why? Because I would assume you cut the hole in the middle, then they're able to pee in the toilet. You're able to do the whole hooray, you peed in the toilet.
I think
Reinforcer?
their point was going from fading it from the outside in is because sometimes the noise of the pee going into the toilet is scary.
Yep.
Oh.
So they are making it more fun times and less scary times.
Mhm.
I guess that's what.
Maybe
they
then
said.
it would start with like a little trickle.
Right, just and then it wouldn't be
Yeah.
like full on force.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what they did say is that on the first day of the 3rd week of training, Kathy sat immediately on the toilet before the diaper could be applied, and she urinated appropriately. So they were like, "Oh, awesome, but
Oh.
But we had all this stuff
We
planned.
had all this planned. Yeah.
Levels and levels of cut up diaper.
Yeah, but what they did, I think, is notable, and it's important for us to remind teachers that they can also do this, is that because she was urinating appropriately in the toilet, they no longer put her in the diaper when she was on the toilet. They kept her in her training briefs. She went to the bathroom and she peed. So it's important to, if something works, to change your conditions around.
Exactly.
So that you're moving ahead with the kid and not just being like, well, it says here on the data sheet that I have to keep her in the diaper.
Right, yeah. If you're seeing independence, run a probe.
Yeah.
Don't keep going through all the steps.
Yeah, so it was pretty awesome. Actually, by the 15th week of training, they took away the sticker book, too. So now she had no diaper and no sticker book. And she was just getting praise.
Praise.
Just praising it up.
That's wonderful.
And in her graph, you do see an increase in responding of urination in the toilet. And with follow-up, she actually even had no training briefs on. Yeah. In the FU. She was at 100% of urination in the toilet with no training briefs, which was the third phase. So she just wore typical cloth undergarments. One thing that they didn't do here, though, is they did not teach a functional communication response for Kathy.
Right.
She was schedule maintained.
Mm-hmm. Is that the schedule that the whole class went to the bathroom on?
I think so.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was the last study. One of the kids. Maybe it was this one too, I don't know.
Yeah,
this
it was
one they
one
visited
too.
the bathroom 4 times during the day.
Right, and it was like right when you got there, right after lunch, and right when you get home, and like somewhere in between.
Yeah.
Probably after recess or something.
Probably when everyone was going.
But they didn't actually have to teach her that because she was already asking. So beginning at the 10th week of training, she said that Kathy would occasionally ask to go to the bathroom and would urinate successfully. So basically...
We just don't have the data.
We don't have the data, but they say that that's what happened. So it was pretty awesome that with this case study, they had this procedure. And
She was sort of the perfect participant here.
Right, yeah. She was like, what do you want me to do? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, no problem.
Here I go.
Anything for the sticker chart.
Yeah, so they had a really potent reinforcer. And maybe some consistency.
And they just chose stickers out of the blue. They didn't.
Right.
They
Yeah,
didn't
they
have
didn't.
any
They didn't do a
preference
preference assessment. Nope, they didn't do a reinforcer assessment.
Everyone loves the sticker chart, Rob.
It's kind of true.
Everyone.
Everybody.
I actually, another tidbit about my life, I had the bigger bedroom when I was a young child, and my sister had the smaller bedroom, and she traded me for her sticker book. She was like, look at my cool sticker book. Mind you, all the stickers were already stuck inside the book, so like the fun part was done, and she's like, I'll give you my sticker book if you give me your bedroom. And I was like, okay.
Sure.
And I did. And I had that small bedroom for the rest of my time.
And the
in my
sticker
house.
book.
I lost the sticker book.
Oh,
It was a
that's
Cabbage
sad.
Patch sticker book. It was pretty awesome.
Those
It
are
was a
good
scratch
stickers.
and sniff.
Whoa.
Oh, they weren't puffy stickers?
No. Some of them are puffy, but most of them were scratch and sniff.
I was recently thinking about my sticker book.
Yeah.
And I had puffy stickers.
What about those sparkly ones with unicorns?
I was just going to say, I had glitter stickers, and I had scratch and sniff
Yeah.
stickers in there. I think I had some that had, like, flocking on them. They were, like, fuzzy.
Oh, I remember fuzzy stickers.
I looked at that thing all the time.
Yeah. Obviously, I liked it too since I
Yeah,
traded
and then if
my
you took
bedroom.
the puffy ones apart,
I never
that
did
never
that.
happened. I mean, it was an accident,
Oh.
obviously, but you could take them apart, and then they had little, like, foam inside them. That's what made them puffy.
I never saw that.
Oh.
I was like, I treated my sticker book like a princess.
Yeah, well, I was real sad when that happened to my rainbow sticker, but, you know, it's okay.
So yeah, pull out your sticker books, guys.
Yeah, I guess it would work for me.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting, since this was only with one participant, if this actually would work with multiple participants.
Yeah, I did actually have this, or go through this with someone
How'd it go?
where we cut away the diaper.
Did you start in the middle?
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
I think we did.
I think it's counterintuitive to start it seems counterintuitive to start at the edge.
Yeah, it was also for pooping,
Oh, yeah, that's hard.
which we're going to have to talk about.
Okay, we always
think.
can talk about pooping.
Yeah.
If anyone knows me, knows I love talking about pooping, so it's like a common topic in my life.
Because it's like, it's one thing, I don't know if we're ready to talk about it now,
think
but it's
we are.
one thing to train urination in the toilet, and it's a whole other thing to train pooping in the toilet.
It really is. But the one nice thing about pooping, or it could be bad, is that it doesn't happen all that much, right? So if you can get whoever you're working with on like a pretty reliable schedule,
then it might be easier because you know kind of the time that it's going to happen. But if they're irregular, then it's like a crapshoot.
Boom.
Is it?
Pun.
I think, well,
You only get like one chance a day. Usually.
Not for some people.
Yeah. Well, you're talking about different muscles, too. I mean, you think about withholding urination is very, very hard, but withholding a bowel movement...
It's hard for some people.
For long, some people, but many people, many children, can hold it for a long time.
Yeah.
Till it is physically uncomfortable or until they've constipated themselves. And then it's even harder
Which
go.
happens.
I hope my friend, who I won't say her name because she'll be wildly embarrassed, held her poop at summer camp for 7 days.
Ooh.
Oh, God.
Because she was scared to poop in public.
Ugh.
It was bad.
Ouchie.
She had to pull it out.
Ah,
okay, no.
yuck.
Can't, no.
That's the
We'll probably have
worst.
to take that out. But it happened.
That's upsetting.
Barf. I think.
So yeah, you only get a couple shots a day at best to work on pooping on the potty. Very often, if you're working with day students, they don't poop at school, they only poop at home.
Right.
So then you have to deal with that and not being present for it. There sometimes seems to be ritualistic behavior around pooping. Issues with constipation, issues with difficulties in diet, lack of fiber, lack of fruits and vegetables, lack of good reinforcers.
Right.
Does anyone else, when parents come and they say, my kid won't poop on the potty, and you're like, I've looked in their lunchbox and they eat nothing but bananas and potato chips. The first thing you need to do is switch this kid's diet.
Right, yeah. No, it's true. It's very true. That actually happens too when you take your dog in. If your dog is constipated, they're like, what are you feeding them? Cheese?
Yeah. Dogs love cheese. Peanut butter.
But it's bad for them.
White bread.
I kind of sound like a dog. I love all those things.
Yeah, well, who doesn't?
Right.
But that's difficult. Many children on the spectrum already have a limited diet, and you're already trying to get the fruits and vegetables in them for many reasons. Pooping being one of them, but it doesn't make it any easier.
Or drinking water. Drinking water always helps.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's so many things working against you, I think, when you're trying to teach.
I think pooping. I usually can tell the difference between the parent who is giving their child bananas and potato chips, and it's a nightmare to try to get them to eat something different, and the parents who've just have been negatively reinforced to just pack this lunch every single day, and they haven't put in the time.
Still hard, though.
It doesn't change the difficulty, but you can tell when it's like, listen, we can work on diet first. I bet we'll be successful.
Right.
Versus, and then this whole thing will be easier if they may even just get it naturally. Versus this is going to take an intensive feeding program. Let's just focus on what we can do about BMs.
It's just a shame that everything's interconnected.
We also sit oddly. Most countries sit. Their toilets are low, like very, very low to the
ground. Yeah, is that what it's called?
I love the squatty potty. My friend has it. It's like a little step stool that you put your feet on when you go to the bathroom.
Way up, right?
Yeah, and it puts you put your knees way high. It's like so comfortable. I want one really bad.
That's what you need. It gets your body moving. I remember reading in. Do you remember the worst case survival guides?
Yeah.
I had one about dating, and one of the worst case dating scenarios were, what if you have terrible gas and you're on a date? And the recommendation was you need to go to the bathroom, get down on the floor, like on all fours, and stick your butt as far up in the air as possible, because that physically pushes the gas out of you. And then you can go enjoy the rest of your date.
Tip for everyone.
Yep.
That's a pro tip.
It's a pro tip. There's like a recent viral story about a woman on a date. Did you guys hear about that?
No.
She
the poop
wouldn't go down, and she put the poop in her purse.
Oh! Gah.
She was at the guy's house and she pooped and she flushed and like one single poo didn't go down, and so she wrapped it in toilet paper and stuck it in her purse, and then she was like making out with him like out and on her sofa and just thinking like, I hope he doesn't go into my purse and see that there's poop in there.
Right. She's like, a piece of poop in my purse.
Gah.
That happens.
That does not happen.
Doesn't happen.
I know,
Just
that's
her.
true.
She's famous now.
Happen.
She is quite famous.
Yeah. I don't know her name, but
Me neither.
she's the poop in her purse lady.
Gah.
Yeah.
It's not good to be famous.
You know
for.
what are great that I want to make sure I mention? Fiber gummies shaped like teddy bears.
I haven't had those.
They're pretty. You want some? They're pretty good.
Maybe.
And the kids love them, and they keep you regular.
Huh. I might have to try one before I leave.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Cool. Fiber potty.
Has there been any published research on the transfer stimulus controlled diaper for BMs? Because I know one of the questions I always get
to check on that.
At the end, it's like, oh, what do they do? And it's, I think everyone just sort of hopes it happens while they're toilet training.
I think when I went to that workshop on toilet training, you can use the same...
You would think they would.
The same techniques, it's just a little more difficult.
Well, I think we've
chances.
kind of gone over some of the physical difficulties.
So I think it's 2.
Okay.
Okay.
I always take
You
2
ready,
anyway.
man?
It's 2.
Okay, 2 for you.
Thanks.
Rob?
I'm good, thanks.
Oh, there's berry and lemon.
It's okay, I already have it in my mouth.
Oh, you don't want any?
No, I'm fine. I'm fine on that front. Nor
I'm
do I
just
like
having berry.
gummies. What would I pick as my least? The last item
so
on my
you could
MSWO?
use these fiber gummies as your reinforcer for peeing on the potty. Ba-boom.
Oh, that's like a nasty trick, though.
Yeah, well, you can only have 2 a day.
It would only work if the child was reinforced by fiber gummies.
Right.
If they're production on the potty.
Right.
Well, you'd have to have proven that they were reinforcing.
Right.
True.
If
They're
they were
delicious.
the last ones on the preference assessment,
They are quite delicious.
I probably
they're
would not
good.
use
You can
them.
only have 2, Jackie.
I know.
Okay.
Just looking to see what else they have in them. Oh,
Not
just
much.
that.
Just fiber.
Just fiber.
Fiber.
Yeah. They're actually like real good.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
But I would work for gummies, so.
I feel like we really covered that article as completely as we could.
Yes, exactly.
I think we did.
Well, before
there are some limitations because there's no
Right.
IOA, no procedural integrity,
Only
one participant. The fading that they want to do, they didn't even need to do, and she started self-initiating independently. But other than that, it was a great demonstration of toilet training.
Well, where's the replication on this? I feel like what an easy article. You just take exactly what they did. Do you even need to do an extension if there's been if there are all these limitations to the
You want to
article?
look at specifically the cutting away of the diaper?
They have done that, and it was successful.
Okay. Then never mind. Don't bother everybody.
No,
Just
you
use
still
it.
should. Everything should be replicated. We need it with a different population. I wonder if it would work for typically developing kids.
Mm-hmm.
That might be fun.
Probably the
Or for
same,
pooping
same principle.
specifically.
Or for pooping specifically.
You know,
yeah.
I have recommended that families, if they see, like, if they have a child who like gets, our son used to go behind the curtain.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when you see those things happen, bring them into the bathroom, even if they're still in the diaper, because then at least they're pooping in the right place.
Yeah.
And then try and have them sit on the potty. Here's another question for you guys: big potty or little potty?
Well, the research suggests that you need to have a potty the kid can sit comfortably at. So if you have a big potty, you have to have one of those like kid-friendly seats so they don't fall in.
Yeah, I think little kids get really scared on the big potty
Yeah.
because their feet can't touch.
Right.
And I think particularly if you need to poop,
It's hard.
your feet need to touch something.
Right.
Well, we just talked about the fact, the higher your knees are, the better
Yeah,
your body
your
is
feet
in
are just dangling
position.
there. It's not
So
good.
if you have
And you're holding you're tensing
Yeah,
up
I
your
know,
body
you're
to hold yourself
trying to not
so you
fall
don't
in the
fall
toilet.
in.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be kid specific. I think it would be easier if you're already having a hard time toilet training to use the big potty with like the adjuster, like the
There's
little
one
kid
less
seat.
transfer of control that needs to happen.
But you would have to put like a stool there too, so that they could rest their feet comfortably.
Well,
It's really awkward. If you're like a small child, it's really hard to get that set up right. So with little kids, I usually do the little
one,
potty.
if they don't have a previous history of problems.
We had these great, but they worked for our oldest son. We had these little potty seats we got from IKEA that were low on the ground. They were easy to move around. They had a great sort of like a W shape in the front to keep urine from splashing out. But to sit on them, it was almost like you were riding on something, so you kind of straddled it. And it definitely seemed to have that physical shape of this is how you probably want to be standing to maximize the
pooping
chance
in the
you
woods.
poop.
This is how you do it.
There you go. I think the portability was great too. Where are you? Yeah, here's the bathroom. No matter where I go.
Yeah. They were good, but I think another nice thing is if you have the little potty seat where the middle of it lifts out so that you can more easily clean it out, because those didn't. They were just one piece.
Just dumped it out and gotta wait. But I don't need it to be like a coffee maker where I like take the little thing out and dump it. It's
That's
still
a good
gross.
idea.
That's actually a great idea.
You should put a coffee filter in there.
Yeah. Catch it, and then you don't have to like clean it as
Catch
much.
and release.
I got another pro tip. If you have children, you're gonna get poop all over you. Just deal with it. How is the easiest way possible?
I don't know. I think a coffee filter is an awesome idea. Another great idea is putting the little goldfish in the toilet so the kid can aim for them.
Or like a Cheerio.
Very exciting.
That's true for everyone though. If you have a sticker or something, use your sticker book to put stickers on your urinal. It cuts down the amount of people missing.
They did a study on that.
They did a study on that.
Grown-ups.
Yep.
That's why they put the bumblebee on the bumblebee urine thing.
But they apparently did a real study where they actually had to measure the amount of urine that was in or not in the urinal. Thanks, grad students.
Welcome to your life.
Guess what we're doing?
You got a squeegee and a cup and a rag.
Have fun. Hope nobody catches you.
How many milliliters do we have?
Right.
Well, before we pull into dissemination station, I just want to make sure we get through our second code word. The second code word of today is tundra. The Arctic tundra. Hopefully it's not too chilly because it's hard to have a BM when you're freezing. Tundra. Tundra. That's all I got for that. Let's pull into dissemination station.
I can't make the sound today because my
That's
throat hurts
okay.
too bad.
That's okay because I've been wanting to say dissemination station across the nation. Ooh.
I have never heard that, but I love it.
That's new.
Well, it's kind of like Schoolhouse Rock, but I couldn't remember how that went, so I just made my own version.
That's
Oh, I like
conjunction,
it.
junction. What's your function?
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
But this was
I like that. I'm glad that you could do that because
me too.
the other one I can't do it today.
It's good to switch it up,
Can't make
you know.
make a
Yeah.
sound. Make a strange sound.
Yeah. So, some main take-home points is that we should have at least some potty readiness skills before we start potty training. There's lots of different ways that we can teach potty training. An intensive Azrin and Fox method, water prompting,
Don't use water. Prompting.
transfer of stimulus control, using a diaper into a toilet. You know, we don't just have to wait until the kid does it by themselves. We can help.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Do you have one of these of either the Azrin and Fox method, purely as written, the methods we use today that push comes to shove, quick pick one that you would start with? I know it's going to be individualized to the child, but sort of beyond that, just you had to pick one probability wise, which seems like it would be most effective.
I mean, I tend to go with the least restrictive method first. So for me, that would be setting up some type of toileting schedule that doesn't seem to produce any emotional responding on the part of the child, beefing up the reinforcement, and increasing fluids and communication training. And then I wouldn't add in positive practice or the urine alarm unless it seemed necessary, as well as moving to a very intense toileting schedule. I would probably wait on all three of those components.
Especially the positive practice, because there has been some studies linking emotional responding to those, and I have seen some pretty bad side effects to that, where then kids refuse to go to the bathroom at all, and then they're just like pooping on the floor.
And you really shot yourself in the foot.
Yeah, and then it's really hard to come back from that.
Another thing to think of, and I always bring this up to parents who are, really chomping at the bit to get going on potty training.
Champing at the bit.
You can't chomp the bit?
No, you champ at the bit.
Oh, I thought you chomped at the bit
what
too.
does champ mean?
It's a horse term.
Oh.
It's like it's not a mute point.
Oh. I've always said
That's
chomping at the bit too.
Did they make that sound?
That
Sometimes
sounds
they
like
make that
a
sound.
Donald Duck horse. Yeah, there you go. Champing at the bit.
Well, thank you, Rob. I didn't know that.
That's all I have to contribute this week. Champing at the bit.
So for parents who are really gung-ho to get started on potty training, I also like to make sure that they recognize that even a less intensive toilet training schedule is still intensive, and that you're going to the bathroom, you're sitting on the potty, you're traveling back to the work area, and there's going to be a trade-off as far as how much other types of work you can get done when you're introducing.
Nuh-uh, where'd you see that?
It also can be chomping at the bit.
That's just because people have gotten lazy. I refuse to accept.
Okay.
I usually know these things. I just didn't know that one.
I'm not mad at you or anything. It's just that's the phrase.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, here it is.
You know what I always get confused on is hone in or home in on something. You hone your skills, but you home in.
I would think hone in would be correct.
I know,
Home,
but it's not.
home in. I think one sounds more military. I've heard hone in. I've seen that.
So I just want you to know that chomp, which began as a variant of champ, is alive in English, while the biting-related sense of champ is dead outside this idiom.
So it's no wonder that chomping at the bit is about 20 times as common as champing at the bit.
Yeah, but champing at the bit is the idiom. If you're saying chomping at the bit, you should be literally talking about someone biting a bit.
Well,
You are. It's a horse.
yeah.
No, but I'm talking the idiom itself.
Okay.
Champing at the bit.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Noted. I stand corrected.
I'm cutting out everything that does not say that I'm right.
You were right.
You are right.
I am right. I know.
Okay, fine.
Don't validate me. I'm right.
Did you know, Jackie, that I got Rob a shirt for his birthday that says, I'm not wrong, I'm Robert?
I did tell Owen that I thought I could probably statistically figure out how right I was, because every time I tell someone, you should do blank, and then they don't, and then it is a disaster, I should say, well, I said to do something different, ergo, I was right, and you were wrong.
You probably shouldn't say that because I would punch you in the face if you said that.
I wouldn't say it to you. I said it to people
okay.
at work all the time.
Okay, what else
Still.
for the decision dissemination
That's why I have no
station?
job anymore.
I don't know if the point I made, if I managed to make it or not.
No, you started talking about gung-ho about toileting.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's just important to make sure that you're thinking about the time spent away from other, IEP objectives or whatever it may be that you are working on when you're not in the bathroom. If you're spending more time in the bathroom, you have to spend less time doing those other things.
We are very
definitely a
upfront.
trade-off.
We're very upfront. I think that's a debate that comes up in school a lot.
Yeah.
Is do we put toilet training as an IEP objective? And at least with many of the IEPs that I've been involved in the past few years, we have stopped putting them on the IEP because it's very hard to predict success.
Right.
If the child is not ready, we try to get a lot of data on readiness. We take a lot of dry pants data to start. Because if they're not ready, you're not able to work on the objective. But technically, if you get to the end of an IEP period and all you've written is not evaluated, a parent could take legal action against your IEP and say that you have not been providing proper services. I don't know any that would, but technically you could.
Right.
You also then run the risk of you've got 14 IEP objectives. One of them is toileting. If you spend 3 months working on toileting, like you said, Diana, you probably are only making progress on a few of the objectives because you're spending so much time on toileting. So you're really shooting yourself in the foot in terms of how much progress the student
and
is
it
making.
is a really important life skill.
Oh, and you should work on it. I'm always very upfront with parents. If you would like us to work on toileting, especially if we have a history of failure, this will be a large focus. And you need to tell me right now so that I can document it that you want this to be our top priority because it will impact what else we can get done at the day. And 6 months from now, when your child is toilet trained but they have not made progress on their colors, let's not pretend that we don't know why that's the case. I mean, I guess it could also be that we suck at teaching your child colors, but it most likely is the fact that
I
you spent all
find
that time
colors
on
really
toileting.
hard to teach.
They are hard.
Is that just
'cause-
me?
No, they're really hard to teach, and I think it's because they don't matter.
It's just not a salient characteristic.
Yeah.
I also like to make sure that if I am working on colors, that I have the child match red to red and green to green
So they have
to make sure that
they're
I'm
not
pretty
colorblind.
confident they're not colorblind.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's a mute point right there if they're colorblind, right?
Did you say
Yeah,
mute?
we just-
Did you say mute point?
Yeah.
Oh, good lord.
It's a moot. It's a moot point. Did you do that on purpose to me?
No.
You're trolling
This
me.
is actually a new podcast called Rob Grammar Boy.
Oh,
I did a
okay.
training on grammar
Idioms
once.
with Rob.
That's right.
Okay.
The idiom idiot
Yeah.
with you, because I'm really
You're
good
an
at them.
idiot at idioms.
You're my special guest, stupid. And that was the end of that podcast.
Great. So I guess that was my concern related to toilet training. But what do we want to think about for future research?
We want to replicate the transfer of stimulus control toilet training. We want to continue research on
Extend it to poop.
Yeah, extend it to poop. And then I think it would be really appropriate to start extending the toilet training to nighttime training because that can last far into the years of kids.
I think you'd have a lot of issues with the nighttime training because we are currently working with our middle son on nighttime training, and the issue we run into is he's asleep.
That kid is dead
He's
asleep.
Dead asleep.
Right.
So we've already started talking about, well, is there going to be a point at which he physically feels wet? Or will we need to purchase one of the alarms because there's just no way to get him up?
Right, yeah. So
Right,
I mean,
so right now we are taking him at like midnight. We'll wake him up and take him to the bathroom.
She
But
loves.
sometimes, oh no, one night he was like hitting me. He goes, "You're wasting my time." He's like so asleep, he has no idea what's happening.
But I think it's an important skill because I know a lot of kids actually struggle with it. So I had a friend that
Definitely
would have problems up until she was like 9 or 10, and then she never got invited to sleepovers.
I know, and
so-
everyone, they're so embarrassed.
Yeah, so it's something that I think deserves some research. Like, what can we do? And find out maybe...
Is this your same friend?
Yeah.
mean,
No, it's a different friend.
I mean, Jackie, I think you pointed it out right now. You make fun of them and you make sure the kids don't like them very much, and eventually they learn to get
Well,
over
that's
it.
not the good way to do it. Let's think of some novel ways that we can address nighttime.
Yeah,
But that one's super easy.
I can't tell you the study, but I did read one with using a wet alarm.
Yes, that has been shown
Yeah.
to work, but maybe you can't afford that. You can't afford the $49.
Yeah.
Or there's like a wet alarm that goes over the entire mattress.
Those are the ones
Fancy.
I've usually seen for the
Yeah.
nighttime.
So if it doesn't fall off, if your kid like moves a lot. But I mean,
Okay.
those are things you can do. But I'm
I hate
positive-
alarm clocks so much that I feel like that would be so terrible.
You'd be
wake up
negatively
to.
reinforced to run the hell up and take a pee.
right. Or
Make it
it's
stop.
and like, but as you get older, when you're like 7 or 8, that's just horribly stigmatizing. And
But to who? Who's there? It's nighttime.
the kid and like then the parent has to like wake up and like you have to change the bed. Like there's just like a lot going on that I wonder if we can get it before the pee happens. Right?
I mean, I think you would. It seems like that'd be pretty invasive to find a way to, like a sensor that picked that up earlier. I mean, you could have sensors that picked up trace amounts.
Right.
I suppose more sensitive.
or you figure out different ways to eliminate prior to bedtime or
Right,
different
like
types
reduce liquids
right or
after
different
like 6 p.m.
yeah, or different types of like awakenings, like maybe you don't awake them, maybe they wake themselves up, or like just different. Like we should be more creative in our thoughts.
That all sounds good. I mean,
Yeah, since we haven't done it yet.
I think I think one of the reasons it hasn't been done though is you're really hitting a wall when you're talking about sleep, because you were talking about a physical change, sort of like we wouldn't be working on toilet training for a child who had some sort of intestinal difficulties. We would have to resolve that first. So when we're talking about children sleeping, if they're very sound sleepers,
Right. But people do it. I mean, it happens. So
sure. But using most of the methods we talked about, having either the wet pad alarm or
Yeah.
just after a while, it just all kind of comes together. Tragically, it often happens when they're much older.
Right.
But I'd almost rather look at, how many of those kids then felt that their difficulty in nighttime enuresis was stigmatizing forever or affected their life, because I think it is common enough. Most of the adults I've heard who talk about it, they're like, oh yeah, that happened, and they seem to have moved on. So is
Not
it
all of them. I know a few that
know
I
somebody-
could see how everyone went to summer camp and
I couldn't go.
or I couldn't go to my friend's house for a sleepover. I was too embarrassed.
Or my mom was
they make,
mad
like,
at me.
little
Right.
shorts now that look maybe almost like regular underpants.
Right. It's just something. I
I don't
think
know if
we should
anyone's
invest.
convinced by that. But
Right, but we should investigate a little bit more. I mean, if they've done accurate sleep training, if we can now train people to go oh, I have the urge to pee, I'm going to walk to the toilet.
Well, that's
and
what
pee.
we are hoping, is that if we wake him up at midnight
Right.
and he feels like he needs to pee, and then he does, then somehow that transfer could happen. Just
Right.
how if you set your alarm for the same time every morning, then
Right.
even if the alarm doesn't go off, you wake up around that time. So maybe we could train him to wake up on his own to pee.
But then we'd be looking at one of the similar problems of the goal. You want one of two things to happen at nighttime. You either want to feel like you have to pee to the point that you wake up and go pee, or you want to train your body to not pee for the 6 to 8 hours that you are asleep.
Or you train your body to wake up and then you pee, even if you don't have to, and then you go back to bed.
Yeah. So
Well,
you can make it the rest of the
two.
night.
You either want to
Right.
wake up because you have to pee, or you want to not have to pee
And wake up.
all night long.
Or wake up and pee.
That's what I said. That's the first one I said.
No, I'm not. I'm saying just wake up. Because you
So
don't
schedule train yourself for night.
Oh, wake up!
Schedule train
It's 6
yourself
in the
for
morning.
nighttime,
That's when I
so-
get up and I go
right.
pee. Yeah.
Yeah, so not necessarily I feel it.
Yeah. Don't you love having
you either
those
want to
dreams?
feel it or you want to just make it.
I just
I
wanna-
went to sleep and then I wake up and the first thing I do is
Right.
pee.
I hate those dreams, actually.
Yeah.
Because then I'm like,
Yeah. You're like,
Oh, those are
oh,
the
I
worst.
really... Yeah, you're like going in the bathroom in your dream, yeah.
I usually can't find a bathroom in my dream.
Oh,
People keep
no.
interrupting me. It's just terrible.
But yeah.
Then you wake up, you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, I look around a while.
Right?
Who's going to stop me?
That's funny.
I'm an adult.
But yeah, I think that's a good place for us to start doing some research. Yeah.
That's a great area. This can be such a hard area. You know, and for kids for whom you've tried all these methods and you're still having difficulty.
Right.
Figuring out what to do. Because this works sometimes, but sometimes it doesn't
Right.
work.
Yeah.
And then you just have to
Kids
figure
have been
out.
potty training for years.
But then I
what
think
it
there are
is.
components. We talked about components. Like you said, Diana, you
Yeah.
do not start with all of these components. You start with the
Yeah.
ones that are the most socially valid, the ones that have a good chance of working on their own, and then you'll add in more components as you hit a wall, as the child is not succeeding. So I think there are a few... Honestly, I don't think I have ever done positive practice overcorrection in any of the students that I have been a part of their toilet training. And there are a few that did not make a lot of success, and I sort of wish I could go back and say, you know what, we have not used this component. I know nobody wants to do it, but the options are continue down the path we're on, which is non-success, or put in something that at least has research to support its effectiveness.
Yeah.
So I think, we have a lot of options.
Yeah, we have a lot of tools at our disposal.
I'd be curious about gerontology research. Gerontology, is that how you'd phrase that?
Yep.
Related to the incontinence of the elderly. Is it an issue of similar?
They don't.
Physically cannot, or is
They
it just...
physically cannot.
Well, for some, but are there some that it might be the change, the change in the environment, the change in their lifestyle because they are aging?
Most of the time, when they're talking about incontinence in like a nursing home, it's actually physically cannot hold their bladder because they're old and they're in a nursing home for a reason.
Well, but before they go to the nursing home, like is it an issue where there are adults, senior citizens who are otherwise living perfectly independent lives, but they are having difficulty with urinary accidents that could be related to something other than the aging process?
I don't think so. Usually it's like my bladder is breaking down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? So that's usually when you see any of like the commercials, or when I talk to my mom about any of like the old people she hangs out with. It's usually that just the body is decaying and organs stop working. Wah wah. But that would be something interesting to look at. I do have a friend who does behavior analysis with the older population with dementia. So that would be something interesting to ask her.
And you're right. I mean, it may boil down to nope. That is just a physical limitation that you will hit at some point when you are older. But then knowing that, it would be a matter of, okay, well, how can you? Is there a way to avoid that?
Right.
Diet and exercise. What
Right.
could it be? Because once you hit incontinence at that age, it's it.
You're done.
But also might destigmatize it. I'm sure there are plenty of elderly people who are living otherwise similar lives to what they had, but they are having issues with incontinence. And if it is a physical limitation, perhaps it's less embarrassing because, hey, you know what? This just is going to happen.
Right.
Accept it. You're dying slowly. We're all dying slowly.
Yep.
And before we die anymore, we should probably bring this episode to a close.
Yeah.
Jay, you look like you're about to sneeze on something.
Sneeze on something.
Babe, before you sneeze, Jackie, why don't you tell us about that fabulous college?
So if anyone is looking for a career in behavior analysis, I urge you to check out the Masters of Applied Behavior Analysis at Regis College, where you can take full-time or half-time program. We find you a job. You can go to Iceland and do a service trip with us. You can work with shelter dogs. You can get great learning experiences from awesome PhD, doctoral level behavior analysts that are licensed. And you can learn all about the great field of behavior analysis.
Great. Did any of them get to squeegee up urine samples for research purposes?
No, but we did have one girl who was looking at graffiti in men's bathrooms. In like the residence halls. And one girl that is currently going to be doing her research in the fall on decreasing parking in handicapped parking spots.
Oh, cool.
So that's
Those
kind
are
of fun.
interesting.
Yeah, because it's like a real big problem on our campus.
Is it really?
People parking in handicapped parking spots. Not like the actual handicapped parking spot, but like the spot next to the handicapped parking spot with the lines.
Oh,
people can get out
so
of
you
the
can't get
van.
your van out?
Yeah.
No, you're not supposed to park there. That's why
I know,
the
but
lines are
everybody
there.
parks there.
That seems even worse. You know,
Yeah.
at least the handicap
Yeah.
spot, you have the sense of, well, there's like 3 other ones.
Right.
I can't be hurting anybody. But when you're on the lines,
not
you are
okay.
clearly
Yeah.
making it impossible for anyone to use
So-
this.
It's kind of awful.
One of my thesis advisees is conducting that study in the fall. I'll let you know how it turns out.
Neat.
Is it like
the
a community
graffiti-
service research study because she got caught parking in those?
No,
As punishment, you do
That's
research
awesome.
related to this.
no, she's just really interested in it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool. Was the graffiti to decrease overall graffiti or the content?
Oh, overall
Modify the
graffiti.
content.
What do
Yeah.
people want to talk about in the bathroom?
Yeah, no, it was. Well, the study that she replicated was looking at overall graffiti in the bathroom, but the study she did looked at decreasing graffiti in the residence hall's bathroom.
Oh, okay.
And like graffiti.
some graffiti I don't
maybe it
mind.
wasn't graffiti. Maybe it was actually like messiness, like
Oh,
things on the floor. I think she
That's
did that.
gross,
actually.
too.
Yeah,
yeah.
Once you
Graffiti
miss
would be
the-
great.
right. That was
Yeah.
her extension. She might have done graffiti too. I can't remember. She did like a lot of
Couple
pieces
things.
of it. Yeah.
You know how I would recommend not having so much waste on the floor? Don't get those trash cans that, like, it's a swinging door
Oh, yeah.
and then they're jammed, so you have to stick your hand in the trash can. Because I know I sort of just, like, lightly tap it in. When it
Right.
falls on the floor, I just run away because
Yeah.
I don't want to touch that.
Or it's like the
Those are gross.
Yeah, or the toilet paper that's like those little squares.
Or where you just like keep tearing it and you get
Yeah.
like
Oh, no.
You have to get like 100 squares.
a confetti-sized piece that
Right.
comes off. That's the worst.
Yeah. But anyway,
Take that, big toilet paper. We're
I
coming
guess
for you.
it's full circle, right? We started talking about toilets and we're ending talking
You know
about toilet
it.
paper.
Turlet training.
Ah, well. I hope everyone enjoyed this fabulously mature episode about toilet training.
See you at the swimming hole.
If you did, hey, why not tell a friend about the show or review us on iTunes? Too much toilet talk, you could say. 5 stars anyway. If you are interested in shooting us a line, you can email us at abainsidetrack@gmail.com. If you would like to get CEs for listening to this podcast, please check out the website at abainsidetrack.com or the link in the information section of this podcast. So you can certainly get credit for listening. You can also just listen for fun and for free. You can find us at any of the social media sites as ABA Inside Track. We'll be back next week with a preview to let you know what we'll be talking about in a future episode. But until then, please keep responding. Bye!